You're always welcome here at Promise Christian Live. We're so glad you tuned in today. How's your week? Sometimes do you find that the faster you go, the behinder you get? Slow down and smell the roses. Life can be so hectic sometimes, but you can get help. Ask God to give you a hand. He will, you know. Now, in the studio today is a guest who accepts a helping hand from God every day. Perhaps you may pick up a few pointers. Who is it, Mike? Who is today's guest?
Well, thank you, Dudley. Today we have a wonderful guest in the studio, Chaplain Howard Payne, and we're glad to have you aboard today, Brother Howard.
Thank you.
You have such a marvelous background. It's so many wonderful things to share today, and I know we're just going to let the Holy Spirit roll on this program. And you're in uniform today. Could you please share a little bit about your Civil Air Patrol as a chaplain and some of the things you're doing?
Well, about 16 years ago, I was invited to become a chaplain here. And, of course, as a pastor of over 30 years, it was just a natural thing for me. And I haven't been ashamed or regretted at all. This squadron that I'm with is Squadron 64, which is in in Brackett Field in Laverne.
Right.
We have about 70 members, about, 65 cadets and so forth. And it's just a wonderful opportunity because these cadets, if they go through the whole program and they decide to go into the Air Force, they can get 2 grades above the starter. And, of course, they are interested in serving the Lord. As a Christian, we have several people on board that are really born-again Christians.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, they're homeschooled, quite a few of them.
Right.
And my whole family, we have 6 grandkids that are all homeschooled.
My goodness.
So I can appreciate the value of that.
And also, you're a pilot. Tell us something about your pilot background, too.
Well, I was Director of Development for World Vision.
Wow.
And it was about 3 years. I traveled all over the country, almost every state, raising money. I was a director of the magazine, sales director. And I had a chance to visit corporations and wealthy individuals. Then there was a problem with, as far as I was concerned, with World Vision, in that they didn't use airplanes.
I see.
You know, when they had a major disaster someplace in the world,
Yep.
well, they put everything on ships.
Oh, my.
That's such a waste of time. Mm-hmm. It takes you 1 whole month to go across the Pacific.
That's true, yes.
And what could we have done in Japan? So I thought, let's just organize some pilots. So I decided to get a pilot's license. And the next thing, the Lord gave me the idea of Christian Pilots Association.
Oh, yes.
And within 3 months, we had about 1,000 members all over the country.
My goodness.
Including a member on just about every airlines in the country, captains. And we started these chapters, we call them wings. And we'd fly in different places. Whenever there's emergencies, we'd fly, we'd go down to Mexico. I flew a number of occasions down to Mexico.
Yes. Now, these were to bring supplies to those places, is that right?
That, or flying down and giving them hand. I flew Dr. William Lesor, who was the top authority on the Dead Sea Scrolls. He was my professor. He taught me Hebrew and Greek at Fuller Seminary.
Oh, my.
And he became the secretary of our Christian Pilots Association.
Wonderful.
Yay!
Boy, that's great.
Yeah, he was a dear guy. He's on with the Lord now, but he flew down with us to San Quintin, an orphanage down there. We flew apples down there, and we flew one of the girls who wanted to learn Spanish.
Ah.
So she went down with us, and she stayed down for some time, so he went down and helped us out. Yeah. That was just one of many illustrations.
Also, I read something a little bit in your bio. It's so interesting. I know our viewing audience would love to hear about this. Is that years ago when Guatemala had an earthquake, and you were director and president of the Christian Pilots Association, you guys flew down there to help them, didn't you?
Well, flew down. Actually, Daly, who was the owner of World Airways, he gave us one of his flights free of charge.
Wonderful.
So we had 120 volunteers who were either officers of nonprofit organizations, or they were beginning to form one, and the others were people like the media.
Oh, yes.
We had a lot of media from L.A. and from San Francisco that went down on that airplane. So we went down for 3 days, and they put us on buses and took us all over Guatemala, the earthquake area. It was just nothing but damage, destruction everywhere along the river. That's where the earthquake fault was. There was over 100 churches that were destroyed. So we were in the Camino Real Hotel for the 3 days, and I lost my baggage.
Oh my!
I put it at the window at the door when we came in, because we had to go over to the desk and sign in for the roommate.
Right.
And so when I got my room, went over there, my baggage was gone.
Oh no!
I thought, well, it must be one of the bellmen took it up in the room. Well, no, it wasn't.
Oh.
So it got on the speaker system every day when we had dinner and breakfast. Has anybody found Howard Payne's groceries or luggage? Nobody. Every day. Well, that got into the press. And then before the President Laguard of Guatemala,
Yes.
one day he called and said, would I meet him out at the airport?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went out there. And here he was standing in his BDUs, battle dress uniforms, with his pearl-handled guns inside of him, and all these soldiers were wrapped, because that's was communists were really involved.
Sure.
And he shook hands with me, and the press got a picture of him shaking hands with me, and it appeared in the newspaper the next day. He was shaking with his left hand.
Oh, I see.
The press reversed the picture
I
accidentally.
See. Oh my. I see.
Well, needless to say, the press all got the word about Christian pilots all over the whole country.
Marvelous.
That opened the door from amazing projects that we were able to do. For 3 years, we built 100 churches.
Oh my goodness.
Down there.
That's tremendous.
I flew down with the back 111, which is another story, which we got from D. Howard Company in San Antonio. American Airlines sold them to D. Howard Company. What they did is they took everything out of the insides, got a zero-time engine, and D. Howard Company would put everything back in like a Taj Mahal.
Yes.
And sell those for $1 million to the Arab sheiks. So one of those was available for us. I got it on one of the boys on the plane that I went down with. He just got fed up because he couldn't find anybody that could help it. He said, "Would you like to have it?" I said, "Sure." Yeah. So I told the board, I said, "We got a back 111 ready to go." You know.
Oh my goodness.
So is it okay? Sure, fine. So we had to put some cargo on it.
That's a huge cargo plane. It's a huge thing.
It's a big plane. And we didn't have any cargo. So I called around all over the country. I had all of our pilots go to the newspapers and the press and the high schools and everybody and get as much stuff as you can. Well, one gal up in Santa Barbara was the husband of was the wife of one of our members. He was an engineer, but he was out of town. I called her and she said, "Sure, I'll do that." So she went everywhere, all schools and colleges and everything.
Goodness.
She raised over 10,000 pounds of goodies.
Oh my goodness.
And she called me one day and asked, "Can you come up and help us get it down there?" And I said, "Sure, I'll come up." So I drove up. I flew up and loaded my plane with it, some of it. And then she actually took a truck and drove it down to McDonnell Douglas.
Oh yes.
Who gave us a warehouse down there.
My, that's marvelous.
And that was the cargo that we were going to put on the airplane. So they came when we had to get the stuff out of the cargo warehouse. And then we didn't know what to do with it, so the Navy gave us a warehouse over at Los Alamitos, because they had to use the warehouse at McDonnell Douglas. So members of my church were willing to go down with me and unload that cargo into a truck, and we took it over to the loading dock at American Airlines. And we found out that they could fly it. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to have the cargo flown to San Antonio.
Right.
So I had a card on my desk that was of a captain in Tucson, Arizona. I called him up. I called him up. I said, is there any American Airlines cargo flight that's leaving to San Antonio from Los Angeles? He says, no, we don't have one. I says, where do you go? He says, we go to Dallas-Fort Worth. I says, okay, we'll take it. So we had that cargo put on American Airlines cargo plane and took it to Dallas-Fort Worth. Now I had to find out how we were going to get it from Dallas-Fort Worth down to San Antonio. Well, we happened to have a member who was a student at Dallas Seminary.
Oh, my.
And I called him and I said, any chance you could get a cargo, a truck to throw down and take this cargo from LAX or Dallas-Fort Worth down to San Antonio? He says, well, I'll see what I can do. So he called back later and he says, well, I got one.
Oh, my.
I said, how'd you do
Wow,
that?
that's fantastic.
He says, this is a Baptist trucker down in Waco, Texas. He said, this is Lawrence Long. We'd like to have you help us to get some cargo down to San Antonio. He says, well, Congressman Long, I'm so glad you called. He said, I'd be happy to do it.
Isn't that marvelous? Oh, my. The Lord was working the whole time throughout that whole situation.
And then he said, well, I'm not Congressman Lawrence Long, I'm Seminary Lawrence Long. He says, well, I guess I just lost $500. So he flew it down there. They flew it down there.
Down there. Yeah.
And I was at the house at the time, at my house. And they called me from Fort Worth, from San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
You better get down here. It's going to rain. They put all that cargo in boxes out on the loading dock. It's going to be a mess. Oh, so I hopped the plane down to San Antonio right quick. And all the crew on the airplane and the D. Howard Company loaded it all in that one little tiny door on the airplane.
My goodness.
So when I was there, I just say, well, could I go down with you to the to San Antonio? To Guatemala. That's where it's supposed to go.
Yes.
He says, well, yeah, I guess so. So they had put all that cargo under a great big net. The only seat in there was the jump seat, and right in the back were the restrooms. So I got on the airplane. Well, before I got on the airplane, he says, now, are you ready to put the fuel on board? I said, well, we don't have enough money right now. But I happened to be in the John Morgan's office of the Texaco company in Los Angeles because I was anticipating we would need some fuel.
Ah.
So I asked him if we could get that fuel for Guatemala. And he said, well, I have to go to New York. I have to get their permission. I said, okay, but let me know. Well, when I talked to the pilot, and he says, well, I don't know. He says, we'll put the fuel on, but it's going to cost you $1,500. I says, that's all we have in our treasury.
I see.
He says, well, I'll use my credit card, but when you come back, that fuel must be here.
Wow.
So when we flew down to the airport, I didn't know how it was going to go. Because the guy that was in charge of the relief supplies and everything else there in the airport just happened to be there at the airport that day. And I don't speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But his secretary was at the office where I was. I told him all about it. We need a hotel for the pilots and all the crew. We need food. We need lodging. So in good English, she talked to me, and then she said, well, you're in luck. Today the director of the program is at the airport.
Ah.
So I went with her over to the airport, and she told him the whole story. He said, we'll do that for you.
Oh, my word. That's a miracle. You know that? All along the way, the Lord's hand.
Oh, it's so
oh,
much.
my. No wonder you're excited.
Well, I wasn't through yet.
No.
Because I didn't know what to do with myself there because the plane wouldn't go back. It wasn't ready for my flight to go back. So I went over to the other side of the airport, which was the military side. And the chain link fence was there, and the guards were there, and I went up. I wanted to meet with the comandante, who was the one who ran the place. And so he wasn't in there. So I stood by the gate. Finally, I see him coming. And he went over to me, and he said, what can I do to help you? I said, well, I'd like to see the commandante. And he said, well, the commandante's not here right now. He said, I'll talk to you. So he took me into the office, and he got in and started talking with me. And I asked him what his name was. He says, George Morales. George Morales? And he spoke with fluent English.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
I said, how come you could speak such good English, George? He says, I graduated from Pasadena College.
Oh, I know he was a Guatemalan Air Force
Oh.
officer. That's fantastic. You know?
And then what happens?
Yeah.
They gave us an office at the airport with telephone and typewriter.
At the base.
At the base.
Oh my word. Oh my. That's fantastic. Oh, I love that
I
story.
can't believe all this.
Yeah, it's the Lord, definitely.
And when we came back, we got excited about what could be done down there.
Sure.
So they had all these churches that needed to be rebuilt. And so we got a guy. Actually, when we were down there, we called to our Orange County wing, and we asked them if they could send it, because one of the doctors at the Roosevelt Hospital, in Guatemala, had no blankets or any sheets on the beds, and they didn't have any gloves, surgical gloves, because when the earthquake happened, the nurses and everybody stole everything.
Sure.
So I called the wing there at Orange County. I said, can you send down a plane with a load of surgical gloves? Yeah, we'll do that. A few days later, he came down, and we called the doctor, head of the hospital. He stood over his Mercedes, and we took all those gloves and
Can you imagine
in
that?
his car.
Oh, my. That's tremendous. And he accepted it right there. Right?
Oh, I was so glad.
Oh, my.
And then I got strep throat. I was down there for a while. I got strep throat. I don't speak Spanish, and I didn't have any Ilasone, which I used to take. So I went over to the hospital, and I walked around trying to find a doctor who could speak English. And I finally found one. I said, any chance you should give me a prescription to get some Ilasone for my strep throat? And he said, you don't need a prescription here. Just go down to any pharmacy, and they'll give you anything you want.
Oh, my goodness. Just like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what the marvelous thing was that you guys were able to get in there, fly in there, give out all those marvelous supplies after the terrible earthquake in Guatemala, and the president of the country himself actually met with your crew, you and the crew. Is that right?
Of Guatemala?
Yeah.
No, he just met with me.
Oh, he just met with you.
Yeah.
Oh, tell us how that came about. How did that happen?
Well, I told you the long shot of it was the results of that is that we got permission now to be able to get things into the country.
Yes.
Because they're loaded with communists. So we got a guy from Los Angeles who was who had his own company, and he spoke fluent Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, would you come down and help us? We've got a problem with the churches here. So the guy went down, and he stayed down there for 3 years.
Oh, my.
One of our good friends up in North Dakota had an airplane that he was willing to loan it to us, and all the major nonprofit organizations wanted to adopt these various cities. Well, we adopted Morazon, which was this little city outpost. It was the only city in Guatemala in the earthquake area.
Yes.
That had an airport, actually a landing strip.
Oh.
So every day he would fly from Guatemala to Morazon to work with the people out there.
Beautiful.
And then he got a big machine that could make bricks. And since he was an engineer, he rebuilt that thing so he could make a brick by just pulling down the handle and pressure, whereas they would have to lay them out on the ground and let them dry in the sun.
Oh.
And that's how we built 100 churches, rebuilt 100 churches in Guatemala.
Fantastic, just fantastic.
Yeah.
The one of the government down there was so appreciative of all the things that you folks accomplished there. God definitely had a hand in sending you there. You can see the hand of the Lord all the way, giving you divine favor and from our country here in the U.S., and then the Guatemalan government as well, and then helping the people. What a wonderful work. And as you say, as a result of that, many people began to join the Christian Pilots Association.
Well, that plus the fact that we were in the churches as well, so we had good public relations people going out.
Yes, and how many years did you serve as the director or the president of Christian Pilots?
Let's see, it started in I forget, I was 76 I got the license.
Yeah.
So it was right then.
Right in that area.
76, and I retired in 2002.
Oh, you served a long time
But in the meantime, I also started Mercy Airlift. That was one of our squadrons. Mercy Airlift was originally the Hawthorne wing
Okay.
of Christian Pilot Association. And a lieutenant colonel took it over like it was he found a baby or a new toy.
Yes.
He had flown 38,000 islands, 38,000 hours in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
Full bird colonel.
Oh my.
He took it over like it was his baby. He would fill up his truck every day and drive down to Mexico and deliver it down there.
Oh my goodness.
He flew. One of the members there flew a Cherokee 6, which is a 6-passenger airplane.
Yes.
So they would fly that airplane down there, and one of the people that they worked down there with was the priest Jaime.
Yes.
Down there, and he worked with the Aborigine Indians.
Oh, I see.
But he liked to have the King James Bible.
Ah.
So Ken, our kid, we would fly. They would fly down to the various places and deliver things as well as Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
And the one flight, he went down. It's so funny. The priest used to take the stuff from the big city down to the mountain area.
Yes.
On mule.
By mule.
By mule.
Mule pack.
Yeah.
Oh my.
No roads or anything. These were Aborigines way back in the hinterland.
Yeah.
So he told the priest one day. He says, "Why don't you hack out a landing strip, and we'll fly down there." So, over time, he did. So the day came for him to make his first flight into
Yes.
that strip. So here he is going along in his airplane, ready to land. Looks right ahead. The end of the landing way was a mountain.
Oh my.
He only had one chance.
One just to make it.
No go round.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
But he made it.
Oh, he made it.
He made it.
Oh, even that whole situation. He had so many experiences. He was flying with a CFI, a certified flight instructor from La Santa Monica, down there one day, and the weather got terrible. So on the way back, he lost electricity. He lost the power in his battery and all that. So he didn't have any radios and didn't have any lights. So he went way out over the ocean. It was, the clouds were down but too low, so he couldn't do too much.
Right.
And so they were flying along, trying to get down to Baja California, and had a big airport down there. So we knew there's a big valley that went down to the ocean. So he started up the big valley there, and he was sitting right seat. His pilot was a flight instructor, was sitting left seat.
Yes.
So they both had their windows open, looking for the big antennas that were up there just
Sure.
out of Tijuana. You hit those things, you were finished. But now he has to fly into that great international airport at Tijuana.
Oh yes.
And so the ATC, the tower control, wouldn't know he's there. Well, they would know it on radar,
Yes.
but they couldn't communicate with one another because he didn't have radios. So we're just hoping he could make it down. He finally found the apron, so he made his turn and came down on the high-speed off-ramp. And just as he was turning to the off-ramp, boom! A big airplane took off.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, you've had so many marvelous experiences, Brother Howard, as a pilot, a pastor, and also you're one of our professors at Promise. Pastor Payne teaches Greek at our school, and we're so delighted to have him to do that because you have so many years background in that area of teaching and pastoring. It's just marvelous. But what was so interesting today was the history of the Christian Pilots Association, and I think it's just marvelous, and it's still going strong today. I understand.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't want to miss telling you about the last time I was on television.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pat Robertson had invited me to go on his television to do the same
Marvelous.
thing I'm doing here and to talk about
Marvelous.
Christian pilots.
Oh, that's great.
So one of our members had an airplane. He loaned it to me.
Right.
So it was in March, and I
Yes.
was supposed to fly into Pat Robertson's television studio.
Yeah.
But the weather was so bad, all by myself.
We have a couple of seconds, but we can hurry with this story. It'll
Okay.
be good.
I managed to fly down, and I couldn't get up to his office or his place.
Yes.
So I went up to the Holiday Inn, calling my wife. She said, "Pat Robertson wants you there now."
Oh my.
I says, "I can't. It's 13,000 feet and nothing but ice." She said, "Check weather." Okay, I checked weather. It was totally out.
Oh my.
I took off my pajamas, got back in the airplane, flew all night. I was just about ready to to worry because I was getting low on gas.
Yes.
So I called ATC and I says, "Is there any gas stations around here somewhere?" He says, "Stand by." And I looked down and there was a rotating beacon.
Yeah, okay.
And I made it.
You made it. You know, I'm so glad. First of all, we want to thank you for being on the program today. It's so wonderful to have you, and I appreciate you so much, and your work with the Civil Air Patrol and all the many, many things you did. And we're glad each week that Dudley and I bring the guests to you, such as Pastor Payne and others. And we pray that these programs, and we believe that God's blessing you as you're viewing them and watching them every week, and God will continue to bless you in as you view these shows. So we want to again say thank you for tuning in today. And again, Dudley, we've had another wonderful program today with Pastor Payne.
Well, thanks again, Mike, for a very wonderful guest. Promise Christian Live has been on the air for more than a year now, and it's blessing many people. Have you been blessed today? I hope so. Need to call us? Phone 1-888-723-6233. Or send us an email, mypcu@aol.com. And don't forget, slow down. And with God's help, you'll get a lot more done. May His peace and blessings be yours throughout the week. Tune in next week at the same time for Promise Christian Live, a Promise Christian University in Pasadena, California. Shalom.